Much like vampires with Twilight, I feel like Harry Potter really changed the way a lot of people see wizards. Not that the series was bad by any means, although its creator can fuck right off. I actually kinda like the books, and I will occasionally rewatch some of the movies, because they're made by cool people like Alfonso Cuarón and not people like Just Kidding. But this series really changed how the general public view wizards. This is what a lot of people think of when they hear the word wizard. So if they don't like this, then often or not they'll say they hate wizards entirely. Just like how people thought vampires were dumb for fucking years because of Twilight. I've always felt like wizards are super slept on in all forms of media these days. There's not enough wizard movies or cartoons or games. That's the main one we're talking about today. Wizards in video games are why we need more wizard games in general. I'm not entirely sure what the fuck I'm gonna title this video, so whatever. The format of this video is stupid and messy, but also simple. I'm gonna start out by talking about some old wizard games and how it all got started in the realm of video games. Then I'll move on to wizarding mechanics that exist in other games that aren't technically about wizards. And then I'll move on to the current state of wizarding games like indie titles and the few AAA releases that we've gotten. I should also clarify that I obviously won't be able to include every wizarding mechanic ever, because that would take fucking ages. I also don't know every single wizardry game, so if there's any that come to mind to you that don't get mentioned over the course of this, good god, fucking long ass video, please let me know in the comments. I'm also not able to record my own footage for a lot of these games since some of them are just old as fuck and I don't have any way of playing them, but so I'll be borrowing some footage throughout this video, but all the footage that I have will be linked in the description below. Let's just finally talk about some goddamn wizards in video games. Wizardry Providing Grounds of the Mad Overlord. Yes, that's a real title. This is the first video game to feature wizards, and it's still held in pretty high regard to this day for being a very simple yet surprisingly enjoyable experience. You navigate your way through this dark, grungy, horror-filled dungeon using spells and fighting for your life to survive. It's a bunch of numbers on a screen that you kind of mess with. What did you expect? This game's fucking 44 years old. This was definitely really cool at the time though, and allowed for 30 different games to be made in this franchise, good god. Which I'm not going to be covering all of those, that's a video of its own right there, and someone else can make the video. And a lot of people still love that original game to this day, which allowed them to make a remake just last year that updates the game's visuals by a lot, but managing to keep the gameplay really similar. Wizard came out in 1984 and they didn't even bother giving it a fucking subtitle. This is a platformer where you're just essentially looking for a key in every level, but you're a cool little wizard guy. Next game. 1987 saw the release of Wizards and Warriors. It's another platformer, but this time it has some surprisingly difficult combat. This is way more about warriors than it is wizards though. I'm not even sure why that's in the title since you don't really do any magic in this game. Like at all.
You got 50,000 on Double Dragon?
Fred Savage has a plan.
Look at him. He's a wizard. He's headed for the video championships.
It's going to take a lot of talent.
Emily, here we come.
A little romance.
I am not kissing a boy.
And the wizard.
Video Armageddon.
You can do it! You're the best!
Fred Savage in The Wizard. Rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
Moving on to the 90s, we continue to see many bangers. Lured Land, Mystic Towers, Hocus Pocus, and fucking Discworld? What?
Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I'd like a nice lie down.
But what about the gate? Aren't you going to guard it?
Oh, who gives a monkeys?
One of the most popular, however, was called Master of Magic, a strategy RPG that was apparently very punishing, and it looks overwhelming just from fucking looking at it. It starts with a dope intro cutscene with an aesthetic so good I just want to take a fucking bite out of it. Then you get to choose between one of fucking 14 different wizards to be, then your stats, origins, and even a banner. Then it becomes a somewhat complex board game of sorts that requires a lot of forethought and correct planning in order to survive. As the game goes on and you get stronger, you get to do crazier and stronger magic, such as summoning a fucking demon, oh my god. The music's surprisingly chipper considering I just freed Satan from the hell in which he resides. In 2000, Wizards and Warriors came back with an all new look and vibe, which was really cool. And this other really cool cool game called Summoner that has possibly the sickest box art ever. Jesus. You play as Joseph. That's my dad's name. Papa? This game is not exactly what I thought it would be like at all. It's still a solid RPG though and has a cool aesthetic. There's just something about this era of graphics that really appeals to me for some reason, but then again I like digital lobotomy games, so what do I know? But fuck that, because in 2001 we saw wizarding become optional content in much larger games, in the form of RuneScape, an online MMO fantasy game. You know RuneScape, what am I even saying? This game gave me the option to be a bunch of different things and go on different quests, but the best will always be becoming a wizard and then going and hanging out with these gnome guys. Much like everything in this game, it takes a fucking lifetime to get really good at, but it's still a really fun option. We also saw the release of the first Harry Potter movie that year, which of course came along with the release of a video game. The first Harry Potter game is very simple, but managed to age surprisingly well because of it. It's a simple platformer with a fun but sometimes scary visual style. You do simple puzzles with simple magic. It's a classic game and it's not that hard, and it might just be the best wizard game of 2001. Just kidding. Nightcaster came out at the very tail end of the year and was fucking awesome. You just go from area to area battling ghouls and monsters with your different styles of magic. It's actually pretty thorough for a game this old and plays pretty well to this day. It even got a sequel that also looks pretty cool despite the negative reviews it received for some reason. The next year Chamber of Secrets came out and was basically the same game as Philosopher's Stone, but better in every single fucking way. The game plays better, the graphics are better, there's way more to do, there's actually a Hogwarts to explore somewhat. Who doesn't want to explore Hogwarts? In fact, I think that's the only thought process behind some of the later games in this entry, because that's all they fucking provide. In 2003, Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup came out and was possibly one of the last decent Harry Potter games before the series fucking nosedive. And guess what? This game wasn't even that great. It's pretty dated and clunky, but also kind of repetitive, leading to it to be fun for only a few hours. I do think the idea of a Quidditch video game is really neat though, and it's still one of those mechanics that hasn't been fully realized to this day. Hogwarts Legacy even have Quidditch? I don't think I ever did that. It doesn't? Arx Vitalis. Arx Vitalis? I don't know how to fucking say that. A dark fantasy game that allows you to do magic like this, which is really cool to me. Determining the way you cast your spell with the mouse movement is really unique and horribly underutilized in games to this day. I'll always love you, Arcane, and this is far from the only time I get to talk about them today, so I'm pretty happy about that. Because in 2006 they released Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. What is with some of these fucking titles, man? This is another game that isn't entirely magic based. In fact, it heavily encourages swordplay and springy ass kicks. But knowing what Arcane would go on to create, I feel pretty excited to see what magic they had to offer here, even though it's probably a lot more simple than Dishonored ended up being. Albeit, it's sick as fuck. You can summon dudes, shoot fire, move shit with your fucking mind. It's dope, man. I just like it a lot. This kind of reminds me of Second Sight even. No, I will not be talking about Second Sight today. I love that game, but it's definitely not a wizard game, and I'm probably already pushing it with some of these entries. I know, before all the comments say it, I know some of these games are about mages and sorcerers. I am just using wizards and magic as the umbrella term. Please don't comment. Also in 2006, Billy the Wizard came out and was fucking horrible. Fuck you, Billy, your face looks like Play-Doh. The fact that this is the closest I'll ever get to Twisted Wizard 3 is heartbreaking, man. But now that we're getting into the mid-2000s, the release rate of wizard games starts to slow down a lot. Besides a few pre-existing franchises like Harry Potter, but I'll talk about the rest of those later. Wizarding mainly became relegated to a small fragment in larger games, such as the Elder Scrolls series, that was rapidly gaining traction at the time. They've been allowing you to do basic magic tricks like fireballs and lightning since the very beginning in 1994. So yeah, I could have mentioned those earlier, but I wanted to save it for this next part, so sue me. But in the ever-growing emptiness of the genre, arose one MMO in 2008. Wizard 101. Some of you might know that this isn't my only run-in with this game on this channel. I bitched and moaned about its fishing mechanic for 2 minutes like a year ago. You just slowly, very slowly lower this blue orb into the water, and then you have to wait for one of the shadows to swim up to it before you can activate it. And from my experience, even if the shadows are right on that fucking thing, it still tells you it's not lined up. This is the one of the few times that I just could not get fishing to actually work for me. I think I may have caught maybe 3 fish in my time in Wizard 101. And then I went on YouTube and saw someone do it with ease and wanted to claw my fucking eyes out.
There it is. It still can snap off. Okay, yeah, I got that one.
But I actually like this game a lot. Avery and I still occasionally go back to this game like once every few months or so. When I saw the ads for this on TV as a kid, it blew my fucking mind. It looked groundbreaking and was apparently free to play, and when I eventually got to play it, I was transported into a world full of excitement and vibrant, bright visuals, and I loved nearly every second of it. I was extremely disappointed, however, to learn that the play for free thing was only fucking true for about the first couple hours or so. Much like RuneScape, a lot of this game's content is unfortunately locked behind a fat paywall. But goddamn if I don't love replaying the small bits that we do have. The customization is simple yet fun. You get to choose between one of several different classes, all of which are unique in their own special ways and have their own classroom. And each one comes with a different power set and a weird teacher guy. You pick one of the predetermined names that are perfectly ridiculous, just as wizard names should be. And after a quick tutorial featuring ninja pigs, you embark on your journey across the world, do quests, mini-games, work together, or duel in an arena. There's a surprising amount of stuff to do and see here, and I just love this game's aesthetic. I know I keep saying that about a lot of things, but there's just something about that old MMO look that scratches my brain in just the right way. Look at that water, look at those buildings, it's all right, it's perfect. And to be honest, turn-based RPGs have never really interested me. I'm the kind of guy that if you show me a top-down perspective or something that looks like this, I immediately slip into a coma. But here I'm shockingly okay with it, as I get so excited to be in this world that I don't mind how fucking bare bones the combat is. It also helps that all the spells have very unique animations that are exciting to watch. If they fucking work, half the time these things fizzle out. I'm so sick of it. It's not perfect, but if you're looking for a good free-to-play wizard game with your friends, this is a great start. Or you could play Pirate 101, but this video wasn't about pirates, so save that shit. Being a wizard or master sorcerer in Elder Scrolls games has always been okay, but kind of lacking in my opinion. Going to the College of Winterhold and becoming the best wizard in Skyrim is a lot of fun the first time, but even after I finished this and continued to upgrade my magic and unlock different spells, it still felt kinda stale to me. Sure, you get decent variety like ice, fire, and lightning magic. You can even summon creatures. There's healing magic. Very cool. There's a bunch of crazy unique shit that you can unlock or be gifted from other people too that are just kind of cool variations of things that already exist. But a lot of the time it still kind of just boils down to holding both the triggers at an enemy for 30 seconds until they fall over. And I know that all of these games have always just had okay combat, but you can easily do better than this. At least fighting with a sword and shield requires me to press buttons more than fucking once. One thing I do love about Skyrim magic though is the shouting. This is a small thing but a really smart idea for a magic system in a video game, and it's so unique too because I can't really think of that many things that are like it. Send people flying back 50 feet, dash through this series of traps, and all of this is done with one button. It's cool as hell. I honestly think the sorcerer is one of the easiest builds to make super overpowered very quickly in my experience. Like in Dark Souls 1, if you get the master key, you can just go down here to this fucking shithole, get the large soul arrow immediately, which will demolish just about everything in the early game apart from that bitch ass dragon. And if you're really crazy, pinwheels in my head, you might even be able to beat Quelaag and ring the second bell first. If you know what you're doing in this game, you can fucking break it in half completely. Terraria is a video game all about not knowing what the fuck you're doing ever. This game requires so much damn learning, so many different fucking Wikipedia articles, and it's highly unlikely that you'll be able to retain just about everything you learned the first time. The second time you play it, you go back to this shit like a year later and it's just as confusing as it was the first time. Despite its confusing nature and sometimes punishing gameplay, Terraria has been one of my favorite games to relax to. It's a nice little multiplayer experience, and figuring out this game together with other people, assigning different roles for the group. I pick wizard every time, by the way. Yes, I know it sucks. This game's magic mechanics are very simple. You just find or make better new wands as the game progresses, and then you shoot fireballs at people and other lame spells like that. But they become so ridiculous and powerful as the game goes on that I can't be too mad about how bare bones this is. I guess I can't talk about Terraria without also mentioning its cousin Stardew Valley right afterwards, but whatever. Some of you are probably confused why I'm even fucking including this at all, and I've contemplated not mentioning it for pacing's sake myself. But it would be super rude of me to leave out Magnus Rasmodius from this video. He's a wizard who lives in his own little tower in the middle of the fucking woods. I kind of wish that there was an actual magic system in this game in general, but I do appreciate what's here. Diablo is the complete fucking opposite of Stardew Valley. Every one of these games is a stressful nightmare with the most committed fan base. Sorry, committed to fucking hating the franchise anyway. I'm joking, these games seem pretty good, but I have no idea, I've never played them. But maybe I will now that I know their wizardry is actually pretty fucking cool. You can be a sorcerer or even a necromancer, which you don't really see that choice often in games. Who's really practicing necromancy? Of fucking course you could be a wizard in Dragon's Dogma. What the hell do you think this is? A bad game? It is. I love Dragon's Dogma even though this game is stupid and fucking confusing as hell. And being a wizard in these games is fucking insanity. There's a lot of annoying aspects of it. It's definitely not something I would choose that often. But it's one of those things where it becomes so easy to break and just abuse this game if you know how to with these wizard powers. Ah, fuck, Zelda has magic too, and I haven't mentioned any of those games yet. What doesn't this series have? I need to play these fucking games already. I've only played one Zelda game like twice, and holy fucking shit, I am terrible at these games. I didn't play like any Nintendo games growing up. The only Nintendo thing I knew about was the Wii, and on there we had Wii Sports and Rabbids Invasion. That's it. Dark Cloud 2 is kinda like Zelda, and one of the main characters can do magic, which is pretty rad, but what's really cool is how she absorbs attacks and unleashes it back onto an enemy. Remember when people absolutely lost their shit because it's won Game of the Year a few years back? I'm not even typically into games like this, like I said earlier, but I don't know, man, I think this game is pretty fucking cool. I'm hard pressed to think of any other fantasy RPG from the last decade that even remotely comes close to all the possibilities that this game allows for, man. And it actually has a really cool magic system too, like really cool. It's not just hold down the trigger like so many of the other games I've covered today. See, I think the problem with magic systems in a lot of games is that they tend to feel so simple and repetitive that it almost feels like an afterthought in the half of the developers. A lot of the times it's just basically another projectile weapon, except instead of being an arrow, it's a ball of fire this time. Baldur's Gate 3, on the other hand, actually makes magic feel exciting again and not just a gimmick. Magic in Baldur's Gate is useful and fun throughout the entire experience. It's not really something you have to grind in order to make it fun, it just is fun. There's a lot of different types of magic and builds that one can perform. There's 8 fucking different groups of magic in this game. I think I might have nutted in my pants a little bit when I found that out, dude. There's ones that we're all familiar with, like conjuration, abjuration, and of course necromancy. But you wouldn't practice that, right? You're not a sick fuck, are you? But the ones that pleasantly surprised me were stuff like the illusion-based magic, which you can use to fuck with the minds of your enemy on some now you see me shit. Another one that surprised me was transmutation, as I feel like the potential of this power set hasn't really been tapped into that much before. I mean, there's the Wabbajack in Skyrim that will occasionally turn people into chickens, so I guess that's gotta count for something. I only made that joke now because I forgot to mention the Wabbajack earlier when I covered Skyrim. This one's just really neat too, as there's a lot more options than just turning someone into something else. You can literally manipulate the matter of the world around you by turning the ground into ice under an enemy, and that kind of shit is so fucking cool to me. I just really love how every type of magic feels rewarding. In a lot of games it's pretty cut and dry which spells are good and which ones are just fucking lame, but all of them feel like valid options here, which is crazy because there's fucking 8 of them. Did I mention that? There's 8 different types of magic here, dude. Technomancer came out in 2016 and it fucking sucks. This shit sucks so bad that I want to talk about some Harry Potter games now. Prisoner of Azkaban is where these games really started to crack, which is ironic because Prisoner of Azkaban is often considered to be one of the best books and probably the best movie in the franchise. And the game isn't completely bad or anything, but it definitely lacks the campy and colorful vibe of the first two. It also plays things a bit too safe when this should have been the Harry Potter game that really took shit seriously. So it's definitely not a bad game, but It's not really a good one either. They took things in a different direction with Goblet of Fire. Instead of being a fun, silly little puzzle platformer game, it became a squad-based combat game. It's not bad, but I don't think that this is what the fans expected or really wanted that much at the time. It can still be pretty fun though, even though Ron and Hermione won't shut the fuck up. Order of the Phoenix is fine. They tried to take the franchise back to its roots with this game, and also update it at the same time to make it feel more modern and less childish. It doesn't have the same charm as the originals, and honestly I find this graphic style to have aged a lot worse just because it's so bland and gray and nothing. At least the old games have this nostalgic charm about them. This just looks like shit. At least exploring Hogwarts in this game was actually kind of exciting. It's pretty fucking big and there's a lot of secrets to discover, but it's no Hogwarts Legacy, that's for sure. Half-Blood Prince was just kind of more of the same. I'm not really sure what else they could have done with this one. They spend like 90% of Half-Blood Prince just hanging out in Hogwarts, being all sad over each other's love lives and whatnot, and then at the end all the crazy shit happens at Dumbledore. So most of this game is just kind of fucking boring. You can walk around and explore the school again, and that's also kind of fun, and you can fight other students sometimes and interact with shit. I don't know, man. These games are really forgettable, but I sure as hell take them over what comes next because the Deathly Hallows games are fucking terrible. I played them when I was 12 years old and I hated every second of it. They took any charm that this game franchise might have had left and stomped it into the fucking sand. They proceeded to make two of the most mediocre third-person shooters I've ever played in my life. This shit feels like Wizard, Kane, and Lynch. Every enemy is a bullet sponge, the attacks feel weak and boring, and if I have to hear Harry yell, "Stupefy, stupefy, stupefy," one more time, I'm gonna put the wand in my mouth and fucking stupefy my goddamn brain out. Also, what is with some of these spell names, man? Stupefy? That's almost as dumb as naming one of your spells after abracadabra. Besides the mainline games, though, they've also had a few spin-offs like Lego Harry Potter, which everybody played as a kid except for me apparently. But I've always loved these classic linear Lego games. The humor is silly but charming. It's the kind of thing that manages to feel like a homage rather than a parody. They're also just so simple and easy to jump into. Anybody can play these games, and that's why they're so charming. There was the aforementioned Quidditch World Cup game, which got a follow-up in 2024, which wasn't bad, I guess, but I kind of fucking sucked at this game. They also had this weird interactive DVD game called Hogwarts Challenge. I kind of miss shit like this though. I liked DVD menus a lot as a kid. They had Harry Potter Connect. Do you remember the Connect? Exactly. They also had Harry Potter Book of Spells and Potions for PlayStation users. You get to wave the wand around and do magic. Whoa, I'm so fucking done with these games already, man. There was some mobile games too. I don't care. Before we move on to the current state and I get to my big ass review of Hogwarts Legacy, I'm gonna quickly list a bunch of Wizard games that I'm aware of but didn't have time to mention in this video. This is gonna be breakneck quick, so don't worry. Wizard of Legend, Magicka, The Wizards, Gauntlet Dark Legacy, Seven Sorrows, Warriors of Might and Magic, Grim Grimoire, Champions Norrath, Dragon's Quest III, Dark Alliance, Eternal Reign, Wrath Unleashed, Wizard Rage, Wizard Wars, Cameo, Citadel, Rogue Wizard, Witchbrook, Lichdom, Code Spells, Infervis Virtue, Wildermyth, Majestic Trials, Dungeons of Blood and Dreams, Void Wizard, Rift Wizards 2, and 9 Parchments. Holy shit, I take back what I said at the beginning of the video. We don't need more fucking Wizard games. That's too many. To end this godforsaken video, I'm going to talk about the current generation of Wizards and Sorcery, etc. games. So that's like 2010 to 2000 now. Things got really slow there for a few years. Aside from things like Skyrim and Dark Souls coming out, there wasn't much besides like Magic's the Gathering playing card games. We saw a couple solid RPGs like Kingdom of Amalur, which lets you, I don't fucking know how to pronounce half of this shit, which lets you do magic hand-to-hand combat, which is fucking sick. But for the most part, Wizard and Magic fans alike were starved. That was until a little game came out in 2012. Dishonored was another game made by Arcane Studios. It came out later in the year and was fucking incredible. A lot of people loved this game and others didn't know how to feel about it because they hadn't played something like this before. Arcane took the open freedom of games like Deus Ex and combined it with the insanity of their previous titles in order to make a stealth masterpiece. Some people are definitely confused as to why I'm qualifying this as a Wizard game, but trust me, I know it's a stretch. But come on, this is just stealth wizards if you really think about it.
Smell the
Is that magic? Can I run now?
You're given access to this unique set of powers that you get to use in order to aid yourself through each level. You collect these things called runes. Fuck off, I know it from this game first. Then you use those to unlock new powers or upgrade to pre-existing ones. You can throw motherfuckers with wind, possess people and animals, feed those same fucking people to rats. It's perfect, man. But even the starting one is amazing. The blink is one of my favorite teleportation mechanics in a game.
It's moved.
In 2014, we also saw the release of Shadow of Mordor. Again, not necessarily a wizard game, but you can do crazy ass magic, so I'm gonna count it. This game is primarily about cutting orcs down a few notches, however, but you can also do shit like this. You can read people's fucking minds. You can sway them into being your friends with your, persuasive attitude. With the rise of VR, some of the only good wizard games you could find on the market for a while were VR ones. The idea of a sorcery-based VR game is fucking perfect and exactly the kind of premise that VR needs. Seriously though, this is awesome and probably the closest I'll ever come to being able to imagine that I am a wizard without having to spend $200 anyway. There's also this really fun one called Waltz of the Wizard, which is an actual cool name despite the fact that you don't waltz much at all. Instead you cast spells, brew potions, and torture this little skull guy. Ah, stop struggling, you can't breathe anyway. Moving along from that though, let's take a trip over to the indie scene. As with a lot of game genres, it's the place that you want to be these days. You want to know why indie games are fucking great? There's a wizard game where you cast spells at your friends by actually speaking them into existence. It's called Mage Arena and it's fucking amazing. Noita is an extremely difficult but insanely engaging wizard game, but it's also a roguelike, and I think if I recommend you a roguelike without mentioning it first, I'll be damn the hell, so I gotta let you know. It's a difficult but fluent experience with fast pace and exciting movement, cool ass spells, and insane boss fights. Wizard with a gun is pretty much what it sounds like, and I have zero complaints. Gabriel Oliver got this for me one time so we could play it a few times. Thanks again, Gabriel. Wizard with a Gun and its cute ass art style is all about gathering resources and killing enemies in this very limited amount of time, only to return home and use said supplies to create new spells. This is such a fun little experience that I could see myself returning to for quite some time. Anyway, let's talk about the big one now. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I wrote most of this video in early 2025 and I completely forgot to include this game. In fact, I hadn't even played it. When Hogwarts Legacy got announced, my first thought was, fuck, why could this have not come out when I was 13 years old and obsessed with Harry Potter? This was the shit I had to play back then. It's fucking pathetic. My second thought was that it sounded hella fun, but I fucking hate J.K. Rowling. My distaste for Just Kidding Raffle put me off from playing this game for about 2 years, but to be honest, I didn't really think about it that much at all. Like I said, I kind of forgot it even existed, but I randomly remembered it last time I went to record this video, so I decided to consensually rip it off of my friend's PlayStation account. I bought him Red Dead 2 Deluxe Edition a few years ago. He can kiss my ass. Let me play your silly little wizard game. See, you can still enjoy media from a bigot you don't like. There's loopholes to this shit. And you know what? You know fucking what? It's pretty good. Yeah, it has some jank, but it's a pretty good game. You can't fly over certain areas that are literally part of the map. Sometimes the game has to stop and refill the tank in the middle of gameplay, and the missions can feel repetitive at times, especially when you're on your 4th or 5th dungeon where you solve very generic puzzles. Hogwarts is this beautifully crafted environment that feels underutilized for a lot of the game. Hell, half the time I didn't even feel like a student here. I'm just a guy who lives on campus.
Feels like just yesterday I was here.
You were here yesterday, and the day before, which is odd considering you graduated 10 years ago.
Yes. So is
It also seems like I don't have to go to class until I want to, but I'm kind of busy fighting spiders right now, so the story is also kind of forgettable and not that interesting. So are a lot of the characters you meet, which makes it kind of hard to genuinely care about them at all. Yeah, Sebastian, sorry about your uncle or whatever, but dude, I really needed that fucking spell. Before you get mad at me though, I will say that this game's positives much outweigh the negatives for me. This is probably the best open world wizarding game on the market right now, just due to the sheer amount of content it provides, how fun the exploration and combat is, and just how satisfying and rewarding they make leveling up in this game. Learning new spells and then using them to brutalize your enemy is damn near addictive gameplay. You're initially only given 4 spell slots that will pair with your standard Red attack? What is this? As the game goes on, however, you'll eventually be able to purchase upgrades, which will eventually give you up to 4 different sections, which means the combat goes from this to this. I genuinely love this game's combat too. It feels as much like a power fantasy as it does a standard RPG, and I respect that they were able to tote the line pretty well without ever leaning too much into one category. Messing with your loadout and finding out exactly what series of spells you like feels incredible. I would kick Harry Potter's ass for sure. Some people might find the combat a little too goofy. Watching the enemies flip through the air as you blast them with fucking fire is definitely a change from the more grounded and serious combat of the books and the movies, but I don't really care about that because this is a video game after all, and I prefer them to be fun. Accio was my best friend in this game, even though I always thought you couldn't Accio humans, but this game says that you can Accio their clothes, which allows you to do shit like this, although I think Accioing somebody's clothes would just strip them naked, would it not?
Accio, done with those bows! I'll call you back later, Mum.
I do think it's funny that stuff like Crucio and Avada Kedavra are the big no-no spells that you can't use because then you'll be a murderer or a psychopath. But I'm already a fucking murderer. I was killing people long before I had the spell to do so, and honestly I think I'd take this over this. You can't use mind control because that's bad and evil, but you can light someone on fire and throw a boulder in their face. That's totally fine. This game really makes you work for the dark arts though. You have to do this quest that spans most of the game where you basically help lead this kid down a path of evil and keep telling him that what he's doing is the right thing. Yeah, man, you definitely should have killed your uncle. You had no choice. Anyway, now teach me how to do that. Trust me, this shit is so worth it though. I couldn't stop using Avada Kedavra every chance I got for the rest of the game. My soul is probably split into 1,000 fucking fragments at this point. I can make a bunch of Horcruxes with the insane amount of stupid ugly clothing I found. So the combat and overall magic in this game is great, but what about the exploration, school life, foraging, and hunting and all of that? Well, it's pretty good, especially the first time around. When I first got to Hogwarts after that long, boring ass tutorial where the game treats you like you've never played a video game before, I couldn't stop just walking around and looking at everything. There's hidden rooms and so many locked doors that hide secrets of whole new areas of the school. There's this. Hell yeah. They incorporate so many cool things from the books like the headmaster's office, the Quidditch field, and even the room of requirement, which becomes this sort of hub throughout the game that you can fully decorate and add cool shit like potion brewing, herbology tables, and even a loom that you'll never use. Not only is this room dope as fuck, but it's also extremely convenient to have everything in one space so you can just make potions on the fly. When I first started this game, I was kind of worried I'd have to run back and forth between a herbology and potions classroom every time I wanted to make a simple health potion, but luckily I was wrong. In fact, I ended up being wrong about most of the negative feelings I had for this game. For a while there, I wasn't sure if I even liked this game at all, but once it really gets going, man, there's no going back. Hogwarts is so cool in this, man. I love what they did with it. I like how it feels like it takes inspiration from both the movies and the books, so keep that in mind when I say this next stupid ass sentence. Although I love this design, I kind of wish Hogwarts was bigger. I know that's kind of unfair of me and doesn't really affect my enjoyment of the game at all. I just don't think anything could have ever fully replicated the absolute scale I imagine Hogwarts would be from reading the books as a kid. But whatever, it's still cool as fuck. I love the way everything looks and how open and large certain areas feel. I love how unique every common room was. It's nice to finally be able to see the Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw common rooms in all their glory. I don't really like how they let you pick which one you want though. I don't see the point in that. Hell, the Sorting Hat ceremony was kind of disappointing anyway. It felt like one of those BuzzFeed "What Hogwarts house are you in" quizzes, where you can immediately tell what answers correlate to which house, and you only get asked like 2 questions anyway. Exploring outside of the actual school is also pretty cool, even if it can be somewhat repetitive at times. I just love the look of this map and really like the way they handled the Forbidden Forest. Flying itself is also a lot of fun once you get used to the controls. For some reason, the left joystick is dedicated only to moving left and right and going forward, while you use the right joystick to change your altitude. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to make a control like an RC helicopter, but whatever. The brooms are obviously not as fast as you would expect them to be from the books and movies, because then you would be able to get across this entire map in like 2 seconds. And you can also fly stuff like hippogriffs and even thestrals, which are so fucking fast and exciting to ride. I feel like I'm in the Order of the Phoenix, which is great because that's one of the best books in the whole series. Yeah, I fucking said it. Come at me then. That's honestly how I felt about most of this game. I think I've just been burned my whole life by mediocre Harry Potter games that I basically just assumed that this one wouldn't be that good either. But I was very, very wrong in the end, clearly. As of right now, Hogwarts Legacy is probably my favorite wizard game I've played. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it comes pretty damn close at times. I enjoyed the shit out of this as an adult, but goddamn do I wish that this came out when I was like 12 years old. That would have blown my fucking mind. Oh, I think that's it. I'm finally done talking about these games, and it only took, oh shit.